Thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Alex Lee, and I graduated from HGuys in 2003. I'm the CEO of MAST Education, and I'll tell you a little bit more about our company in a bit. But first and foremost, we would like to thank everyone for attending today. You know, as a startup company, to have this many attendants is really a validation that our business is headed in the right direction. And we're trying to, every day, to figure out new ways to help perform a better service for everyone here. So I'm sure many of you know my mother, Mrs. Dora Lee, but maybe some statistics about her is that she taught for 28 years at Hong Kong International School, with 14 years being in AP Chemistry. Now, I'm sure whenever people ask for a good chemistry tutor, my mom always comes up. But why? It's because 85% of her students got a 5 in the AP Chemistry exam, versus 10% on the global average. So I'm sure the next time when you guys are looking for a good chemistry teacher, you guys know who to mention. Some of the things that I would like to touch on is my mom's belief that no student should be left behind. I'm sure many of you are aware that the AP courses are university level 101 courses, and they're being taken at a very quick pace, taught at a very quick pace. So this is part of my mom's motto, is that no student should be left behind. And she believes that there's a big misconception that only weak students need tutoring. Now, what are the benefits of tutoring? Is that, as you know, in the APs they have over 100 plus learning objectives per subject. To work with a tutor, they can help you identify these learning objectives so that you can do better in the exam, and also allow you to concentrate more time on your extracurricular activities. Clearly understand concepts. I think this is pretty straightforward. And cultivate a smart study strategy. This is something I could have definitely used when I was studying HGuys. So APs in a flipped classroom, I'm sure many of you know, is that during your hours at school, you're usually concentrated on group work, problem sets, and labs. Majority of the learning is actually taken at home. And the reason being is, my mom would like to say as well, is that when she was teaching AP Chemistry, she would have liked double the amount of time to both teach the lab portions, the problems, and also the actual learning experience. So a lot of the learning experience is actually left to home, and this is where a tutor can really help a student. Now, compared to the traditional tutoring centers, the way that we differ is that we don't actually do everything on a face-to-face, we do everything online. The benefits is that when you're working with a traditional brick-and-mortar tutoring center, is that you're paying for a lot of hidden costs as well. And what these costs include: tutor salary, resources, administration, staff, rent, and operations. And I'm sure you know that education in Hong Kong is a pretty expensive commodity. And also the other thing is that, given that they have to hire tutors on a full-time basis, they also cannot bring the best quality tutor to you. And what do I mean by that is that, let's say if you want to learn physics, a lot of times these tutoring centers, they cover across different curriculums, whether it be AP, IB, A-levels, IGCSE, and they usually utilize one tutor to teach across the curriculums. I mean, even for my mother, who has been teaching AP Chemistry for 28 years, she believes that she should only tutor APs and not fall into other streams, because to really understand each curriculum is in itself an art. And to teach that many curriculums, then you have to kind of question how good is this quality. With our tutors, how we establish it is that we have master tutors, someone who's like my mother, who has taught or is currently teaching APs. So they have to submit their curriculum to College Board, which then gets vetted, and we vet all these so that we can verify that they are actually teachers. And tutor mentors, students who have taken the APs, scored a 5 and got an 8 in that class, and also have had relevant tutoring experience. I think the mentor portion is pretty important. After I graduated from NYU in 2007, yes, I began working at JP Morgan, and during my time I've had quite a few different bosses. Some of them are great mentors, some of them are okay. But I think finding a great mentor, especially in this day and age where we're given so much information, is really important, because it kind of sets up a role model for you to mimic yourself, or to kind of pick the best traits from, so that you can kind of add to your own collection of persona. So, I mean, some of the students that work with us, they really enjoy being taught by a person who's a little bit older than them, who's been through the same issues that they've been through, and it can also leverage off of their experiences to do better at school. But my mother always says is that, I know I'm doing a lot of my mother says, but if you give her a student at the beginning of, in March and the exams in May, it's going to be very hard for her to help the student to get a 5 in the exam. She really has to get to know the student well, and that's why we preach at MAST Education, is to work with our tutors over the long term. The idea behind it is that you want to build a personal relationship with the tutor. The tutor should also really understand where your strengths and weaknesses are, so that come around May, when the exams actually, when you take the exams, they can have a clear list of what you should and should not study in terms of where to practice. And for example, AP Chemistry, my tutor would say, you know, you need to do more practice problems on thermodynamics, etc., etc. So we really preach it to work with our tutors on a long-term basis so that they can best understand your needs and help help you try to achieve a higher score at the end, during May. So currently, we have over 50 plus tutors on our platform, covering 27 AP subjects, and 98% of our students who utilize our free 30-minute trial become our tutor with MAST thereafter. I think also one thing is people might have the misconception that online doesn't really work, but given the fact that 98% of our students do come back, it kind of says it itself. So we're very happy with this result, and I think it's really because we're trying to bring the most relevant experience to you guys. In the future, we will be adding an IB division, adding experienced AP and IB teachers. So in coming July, the team's going to fly out to New York, the US, to attend the AP annual conference and the IB annual conference to onboard a slew of new teachers, so that you guys can get the best teachers for your study needs. And the other interesting part is we're creating online SAT videos, and basically what we're going to do is send out these exams. You guys, it's free, you practice it, and if you don't do well on a certain question, there's a video attached to that question that can explain the concepts and whatnot. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard of Khan Academy, but we're taking a step forward. So enough about MAST education. Let's talk about the panelists today. We have a very wide variety of panelists today, and they all tutor from MAST. We have tutors who just graduated from high school, tutors who just graduated from university and who are going into a working experience, and tutors who are going into to take a PhD. So what we hope to do today is to give students an idea of what the university life is like. There's 12 panelists. You can see their bios on the pamphlet in front of you. And afterwards, we'll have around half an hour after the session is done for parents to go speak to our tutors to kind of, you know, if you guys are shy or you have any questions that you don't want to ask publicly, and I do encourage you guys to ask questions publicly if you do have any, but to go speak to them on an individual basis thereafter. And last but not least, we do have a summer AP course coming up for students who want to get a head start. The majority of them are from 15 to 20 hours in length, and it teaches the first semester of that AP curriculum. Lastly, thank you so much for coming. I really, really appreciate it. And you know, as a startup company, please do fill out the survey, because the survey really helps us understand what your needs are, helps us better streamline our product. And you know, and also we'll be giving you a $50 US credit for every for every family that turns in a questionnaire. Without further ado, okay, so today we have, for group 1, we have Jeffrey He and also Jonathan Yue. Let's start with Jeff. Can you give me a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I graduated from HKS in 2016. I'm a rising sophomore attending Harvard, and I'm likely going to major in computer science.
Okay, great. What APs did you take in your high school, and do you think it was too much or too little?
Mm-hmm. So the APs that I took are Chinese, Chem, and then I took the econs and the govs, and then BC, and then Lang and Lit, and then psych, and stat, and then the physics Cs. So I think that the main takeaway is you definitely, for me, I thought it was the right amount. I think you should like take as many as you can handle comfortably and take the ones that you enjoy learning. So like, especially in senior year when you have maybe more leeway with what courses you select. One of the APs that I really wanted to take was AP Psych, so I made sure to fit that in. And I think with regards to like APs in terms of what you actually learn in them, when you go to college, it might not really matter a lot, just in terms of, because every school is different. So some people from other schools might have only taken 5 or 6 APs, some people might have taken 9, some people might have taken 13. And ultimately, I think it comes down to taking as many as you can comfortably handle, and then taking the ones out of those, the ones that you would enjoy the most. And then I guess also keeping in mind that like usually universities will probably look at how many APs you're taking relative to other students, given what you're offered, and HCAS offers so many APs. So in some sense, you do want to take as many as you can, but only if you can comfortably handle it and if you like it.
So you were comfortable taking 13 APs?
Yeah, I mean, I think like for most of it, you know, like econ is like one class, but it's 2 exams, and physics as well. So that 13 number is pretty inflated. I'm Chinese, so AP Chinese really doesn't mean much. It still means something, but like as a, like I didn't have to like, you know, like study a whole new curriculum for AP Chinese. It was kind of like, oh, I already know this, so I'll take the exam. So I think the number is not as critical as is like how you feel you're being challenged in a comfortable way. So like, you definitely don't want to take too many that you can handle, but like if you're comfortable taking, like say you take 3 APs in a year and you're fine with that and you enjoyed them and you like the year, then I think, you know, you can take 3 again the next year, or maybe even add 1 more. But then if you're taking 3 APs and it's really challenging and maybe your grades aren't as good as you want, then I would just recommend taking fewer APs the next year. So it really depends on the person, I think. But yeah.
That's cool. So your first year at Harvard, I mean, everyone's always curious as to the Harvard archetype. Is everyone super competitive, super motivated, all alpha, alpha type characteristics?
So I think definitely, like your question kind of alluded to, people will expect that Harvard students are really, really motivated. And I think the best way to answer the question is there's like the whole spectrum. So some people are indeed really motivated. You have like different levels of motivation. Like at the very top, you have people who like genuinely want to make a huge impact on the world. You have people who are maybe like really, really academic, so taking like 2 extra courses on top of the normal 4 and skipping all the intro classes and taking the hardest courses. And then you have like people who like, you know, maybe won all the national competition in the US and like math and science, whatever. But you know, at the very same time, like some people, I think they get a little burnt out applying to college, applying to Harvard. And you have also people who just kind of drop all their activities or both of them that they did in high school, and they maybe just weren't really feeling doing those things anymore, or maybe switching to other activities. So there's like a whole spectrum of people, but I think definitely something to note is that like the spectrum is definitely maybe shifted a bit more towards the motivated side, because like at the top you have people who are really, 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 really high achieving, or I mean, it depends on what you define as success, but in some ways you could define it as like mainly like top of the state, top of the world, top of the whatever, top of the country, stuff like that. But at the same time, you have people who maybe are so focused on one thing to get into Harvard. Maybe they're really good at, I don't know, sport or like activity, like debate, something like that. And then maybe they realize that they don't actually enjoy debate that much, or maybe they don't actually enjoy the sport that much, and maybe they choose to explore other areas. So overall, there's like a range, but I guess it's like a shifted range, or it's more motivated.
Cool, thank you. Last question is, did you find adapting to Harvard hard?
Right. Okay. So I think something that definitely is key in really any university, or like I guess or I guess in life, is to like know what's comfortable and what works for yourself. So I think one of the things that was hard for me at first was adjusting to the and it's not everyone, but to a decent number of people who are in a like kind of like a work, like always do work kind of culture. So like a lot of people that I met in the first few weeks, they were often busy and they're like, it's like, oh yeah, like I have lab, or like I have homework, and then like I have this, I have a job, I have whatever. And like you would never really find free time. Some people would even like have to schedule lunches like really in advance. And what I realized was like, I guess for me, it didn't really fit my style of study and my style of life. And so in the beginning, I was a little pressured. I was kind of like, oh, everyone's studying, I should probably study too. But in the end, I realized what worked the best was like reverting back to my older study habits, which worked for me, which was more like, maybe in class try to focus a little bit more, stay awake. Like some people don't go to class, so that's probably why they're always busy. But if they don't go to class, and then I kind of like listen a lot, and then maybe procrastinate like a normal person, like a human being. And then maybe at the end of the week, like be more efficient in the last few days. I think it really depends on your personality, and like I guess just remembering that like at any place, including at Harvard, to do what works for yourself and do what like considering like what your goals are, and if you're comfortable with like how you're doing now, like to go with your own game plan and to not really get accidentally influenced by other people's study habits. And I think also a lot of it has to do with like in the beginning of the year, people were a little bit more stressed out as well, just like adjusting. Because one thing that's really nice is HKIS, I think, prepares us pretty well for college in terms of like workload and stuff. So we're adjusted to the college workload. But some students coming from different high schools might have actually had very little work in their high school, so they're adjusting to the work. So maybe that's why they always had to study, because they're trying to catch up. But just being yourself and sticking to what works for you and what you're comfortable with is my main takeaway. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Well appreciated. Jonathan, thanks for waiting. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
It's good to switch to. Sorry, just give us 1 second.
Sure.
So, Jonathan, why don't you just give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure. So I was a 2014 graduate from HIS, and now I'm a final year student at Oxford, and I majored in PPE, so that's philosophy, politics, and economics, and now I'll be graduating this summer.
So you spent 3 years in the UK, but you still don't have a British accent.
No, yeah. HIS is too heavy influence.
I guess that's a good thing. Tell us about your APs.
Yeah, so like Jeffrey, I took, 12 APs. So I did the econs, the govs, the physics Cs, Chinese, Lang, Chem, European history, comp sci, and calculus BC. And I'll say it's like similar to what Jeffrey said, take as many APs as you think is comfortable. I think most universities won't require you to have 12 or 13 APs, so I took most of them because I was interested. And as long as you're doing well, and as long as you're feeling comfortable and you like them, I think, take as many as you can, but don't force yourself to take a superb amount of APs, as they don't really require that many.
Okay. You make me feel bad. I only took 4 APs. But anyways, what's the PPE and E major like, and why is it so popular?
Right, so you may have heard that PPE is probably the most popular subject at Oxford. And what it is it's philosophy, politics, and economics. And so what its aim is to give you a pretty general picture of the 3 subjects. And unlike other universities, it's taught separately, and so you'll have classes in philosophy, classes in politics, and then classes in economics. And so what happens is, in the first year, you take all 3, and it's pretty general. You get sort of a overview of everything. And at the end of the first year, you take sort of what's called qualifying exams, or what we call prelims. And it's basically a pass or fail exam of what you've learned in first year. And if you pass, then you get to go into second year. And for the second and third years, the UK is only 3 years. For the second and third years, you specialize in 2 of those. So I'm doing philosophy and politics. And you choose sort of 8 specialist subjects which you dive into. And what happens is the Oxford style is quite unique. And so you don't get a lot of the coursework or classes that you might have in other universities. So I might have only like 2 or 3 contact hours a week. And what I'll be doing otherwise is they'll give you a reading list every week. So there'll be a topic. So let's say I'm studying like Chinese politics. Then they'll give you a question like what caused the Cultural Revolution. And they'll give you a list of books or articles, and you'll be spending the week sort of reading through them, thinking through them. Then you write a 2,000 to 3,000 word essay, and at the end of the week, you'll turn it into a professor, and he's probably a renowned scholar in that field, and you'll spend an hour discussing with him. And that's basically the course structure. And it's quite unique because you get to actually have contact with professors who write textbooks who are known in the field. And yeah, you get to speak with them personally, and they actually give you feedback on your undergraduate work, which is quite amazing, I think.
Are they very intimidating?
It depends. I guess some of them can be, because they've been decades in the field and you've been like a few days. But generally they're very nice, and it's quite amazing that they're actually willing to read your work. Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like the UK or maybe Oxford style learning is very self-driven. I mean, how did it compare to HKIS?
Yeah, so it's a bit different from what Jeffrey said. For the UK, I think it's actually quite different, especially for Oxford, because HKS you still have a lot of classwork, homework, and sort of a lot of group projects. But in the UK, especially in Oxford, it's really self-driven. And so, for example, in HKS, homework counts for your final grade. Exams count too, of course, and maybe like participation or just coursework in general. But in the UK, it's all of the exams, so the final exams. And so none of my essays or participation or anything none of those count. The only thing that counts for my degree is my final exams at the end of the 3rd year, which I just took. And so basically it's very exam-driven and very self-driven. And so in Oxford, you'll probably expect to be in the library, like reading by yourself for most of the time, I'll say. And yeah, so I mean, it's not as a good fit for people who really love sort of collaboration or group projects, but it is really good if you sort of like to study by yourself, or if you like it more of an independent style.
Great. Yeah, I think, well, how well do you think HKS prepared you for it?
HKS, I think in terms of rigor, it did prepare me for it, because HKS has quite a lot of work, and you have to work quite hard at HKS. But I think in terms of studying style, it was quite a steep learning curve. So when I got here, I really wasn't used to the weekly tutorial essay sort of system. And so it did take me quite a while to sort of get down to it and really be able to spend the time to write my essays and read the readings. But yeah, I'll say half-half, and yeah, it did take quite a lot of adaptation, but HKS was a good foundation.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions from the audience? If you have questions and you want to ask them on a separate basis, please do send it to us and we will direct it to them as well. Thank you guys for your time. Have fun in Shanghai and have fun in the UK.
All right, thank you.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Can we have the next? So this is what
Can we just discuss, or?
Yeah, you can so this is what a online tutoring experience is like. Obviously, there's whiteboards and whatnot. So really, it's really like face-to-face. And sometimes when students really need help late in the evening, that's when online tutoring works the best. Can I get group 2 to come up? Alex Choi, Jeremy Lai, Helena Lee, Clarabelle Wong, and Elaine Chan. Okay, great. Thank you so much for attending today. Please feel free to relax. Jeremy, why don't we start off with you? Can you give me a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Jeremy Lai. I graduated HKIS in 2013, and I recently graduated from Duke University this year. I guess
Right, sorry. So tell us a little bit about your AP experience.
Right. Similar to Jeffrey, and so I only took 10 APs from Gov to Gov, Chinese, English language, literature, physics, calculus, stuff like that.
And how was your experience at Duke? You graduated this year, right?
That's correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Duke.
Sure. So I really like Duke. So let's look at Duke first in terms of size. There's 6,000 or so undergrads, so that's 1,700 or so per year. So that's about 10 times the size of HIS. That seems very big. However, when compared to a state school, that's also very small. And actually, to me, I think that's the perfect size. It's the size where we walk around, I can meet people new every single day, but at the same time, I recognize familiar faces and friends as I walk down the hallways. At the same time, Duke is also where I've met some of the most phenomenal people I've ever met. Both in terms of academically, and at the same time, kind of just quality of human beings. They're the people that I can share ideas of philosophy about what truth really is. They're also the people that we can brainstorm startup ideas on creating a hoverboard, and they can explain the physics and mechanics of how we can build stuff like that. So I've really had a great time.
Great. So I guess these were all very competitive people.
Competitive is, I wouldn't necessarily use the word competitive. They're driven and self-motivated people. So each and every one is driven in their own passions. So some people are driven in terms of curing cancer, so they work with professors there. Some people are into environment, so they start their own NGO and stuff like that. So I think it's a variety of people who, with really strong passion and interest for what they want to do, and they will go and pursue it.
Great. Passion and interest, very important. Can you tell us about how the APs prepare you in terms of academic rigor?
Right. I think APs are a good glimpse into what college might be like. To me, I think one full year AP course was equal to 1 or 2 weeks at college. So it's nowhere near the same rigor and intensity as what college is going to bring, but I think it's a good time to learn how to be more self-motivated and try to achieve at a higher level what we can do during high school.
Great. And, I think you used to be a pre-dental major.
Yes.
And then you switched over neuroscience and economics. Can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit more about that?
Right. Seems like a huge leap, and then neuroscience, economics, why are they related? So for me, I'm interested in human interaction and people. So for me, I decided to study neuroscience because I can understand a biological basis of how humans behave, and at the same time for economics, then I can kind of see a group level macroeconomic view of how humans interact with each other. So originally, I thought being a pre-dental, specifically I wanted to go into orthodontist, would be a great way for me to meet people and change and shape their lives, right? It really changed my life, made people with a good smile and talk to them. And so, I prepared, I bought the DAT book, getting ready, and I also shadowed. That's when I realized, I like the profession, I think it does a great job, but to me it was a bit monotonous. It was the same thing over and over again. And it's very easy to turn people into dollar amounts, someone coming in, someone coming out. And to me, I decided to switch gears and go into consulting.
Great. And I guess it's kind of hard to speak to your client when they have their mouth open the whole time.
Yeah.
But anyways,
It's easy, they can't talk back, but
But anyways, congrats on getting the offer with PwC.
Thank you.
You're going to be doing consulting starting July in New York, right?
that's correct.
So can you tell us about how you prep for that?
Sure. So I didn't hear about what consulting is until junior year. And the way to get into, or consulting is a very general term, which I can talk more about later, maybe afterwards if you're interested. But I did the normal casework, case practice for interviews and applied and I got it. I think the type of consulting I'm doing is called forensics consulting. So it's looking into fraud and different white-collar crimes and consulting different big companies on how to deal with such issues and how to protect themselves.
Great. sounds like your exposure was it was a great time at Duke. So thank you very much for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
Elaine, can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Hi, my name is Elaine. I graduated from HKIS in 2016, and I'm currently attending the University of Virginia, and I'm studying or double majoring in business and foreign affairs.
Okay,
That's a
business and foreign affairs. Very
I
interesting.
mean, like Jeremy said, that's up to change within the next couple of years.
Yeah, but I could totally see you in foreign affairs. Anyways, can you tell us a little bit about your APs?
Well, unlike my fellow friends up here, I only took 9 APs. I took the GOVs, I took the econs, took chemistry, calc. Most of my APs they weren't tailored specifically into just math and sciences or just humanities, because when I was in high school I had a wide range of interests and I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. And I'm honestly still not very sure. So my APs, I kind of took that as an opportunity to try to see what subjects were of my interest, and so I kind of just went everywhere with them. And it benefited because I ended up finding out that I was very interested in politics and also the economics subjects, yeah.
And how well did high school prepare you for UVA? I mean, was it a big transition to go from Hong Kong to Virginia?
Well, I'd always thought that I would go to college in a city because I'd grown up in a city my entire life. But when I decided to go to Virginia, what I didn't expect was how much I would fall in love with the campus. I never got the chance to visit before going to orientation for the first day of college, but the second I stepped foot, as cliche as it does sound, I was mesmerized by how beautiful the campus was. It is the only U.S. college campus that is a World Heritage Site, by the way. And the community of UVA reflects how beautiful the campus is. It's a very engaging and welcoming community that encourages every student to be exactly who they are and to take part in any way that they can. And I guess as parents, like all we can hope for, all you guys can hope for your children is for them to find a part in the community that they feel like they belong in. And that's the exact feeling that UVA instills in me.
When you refer to community, what's the student population like?
It is a state school, so it is relatively larger. It is 16,000 in undergraduate students, and most of them are Virginian citizens because it is a state school, so being international students actually benefit because they think you're kind of cool and special. You have a different perspective than the rest of the Virginian citizens. APs also prepare you in a way where you get to skip the introductory classes. So for me, I skipped Micro 101 and went straight into intermediate microeconomics. So you're kind of like a little step ahead of your classmates if you did take these APs. And because of my credits, I can actually graduate in 3 years. But I'm not going to take that option because college is fun.
Very, very fair point. I love you at UVA so much. What's something interesting about it?
Is the World Heritage Site information not interesting enough?
Okay, let's get to the next question. That's the case. And can you tell us a little bit how you plan to utilize your summers to, be a lame, I suppose?
A lot of people do encourage you to take internships, and I've done that since the summer of my junior year, but none of them really correlate with each other. Summer of junior year, I worked in a PR firm, and then after that, I worked with MAST Education, actually, so any of you guys interested in seeing what a startup is like, I recommend it, because I actually did learn a lot from seeing a company start from scratch, as opposed to just going to some other corporate company and doing, grunt work. And this summer, I'm actually going to be interning with a venture capital firm. I'm not sure what that experience is going to be like, but I hope I will learn a lot from it.
Great. Thank you so much for your experience.
Thank you.
And Helena, thank you so much for coming. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Helena. I graduated HCAS 2 days ago, so I'm like a really fresh alumni. I know a lot of you guys here. And yeah, that's about it.
Great. And so you're going to study pre-dental at University of Pacific, right? Was there any prerequisites you need to fulfill in order to get there?
Right, so they have different programs. They have 2+3, 3+3, 4+3 programs, and for the programs they have an ACT like bar minimum lines, but they don't really have prerequisites for any AP scores that you need to have. But they do say that they want some science scholars to apply to this program because it is pretty competitive major. I mean, it's pre-dental, so I think you can pretty assume how competitive it can be. So for me, I actually took all 3 APs in sciences, physics, bio, and chemistry. And then moving on to humanities, I took 2 years of capstone, literature and language. And then from math, I took BC and stats.
Great. Capstone is a relatively new one, and it's pretty self-driven, if I'm understanding correctly. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure. So capstone is a 2-year-long AP course. It's a little bit like IB way of the APs. So what they do is the junior year you learn how to analyze articles in like professional ways. So you try to find the line of reasoning, the arguments, and the examples that the articles each have. And then your second year of capstone, it's optional actually. So in your second year, you have 10 months to write 5,000 word research paper on whatever subject you like. And over the junior year summer, I actually interned in a biochemical company, and I learned the importance of learning about bioethics, which is actually not taught in HKIS. So I composed a questionnaire, and I asked the science teachers to hand out the survey to actually HKIS students that are sitting here right now about the importance of learning about bioethics and their thoughts on the effectiveness of having animal experimentations because it is a secondary educational school.
Oh, great. And can you tell us why you picked the University of the Pacific?
Sure, so it's one of the few colleges that offer pre-dental as in like a program. So for me to get into their dental school, I just need to keep up 3.3 GPA and get an average score in DAT score, which is kind of what Jeremy talked about like DAT is like SAT for dental school admissions. So for me, it was a great chance that actually kind of offered me the flexibility to learn whatever I want to in 3 years for the undergraduate years, and then move on to graduate school to do dentistry. So yeah, and also it's in California where my uncle lives, so that was a big plus.
I think that's also an important factor that parents should realize is that it's the first time, it may be the first time that your child's going abroad to study. So having family members nearby could actually be a good thing as well. Last but not least, I guess, how did you identify that you wanted to go to pre-dental?
Okay, so I guess it kind of started similar to Jeremy about how I also wanted to be an orthodontist, but I'm not too sure right now after listening to Jeremy. So thanks, but I'm joking, okay. What I loved about dentistry is that it's really expensive, and as Jeremy said, when the customer comes, you do think about like the money values, oh, that person, I can fix it, and it's like $500, easy right there. But because of that field, what I want to do is, my uncle actually took me to his service trips he does with his major and his expertise. He's a dentist himself, and seeing that he could dedicate some of his time and effort to the people that can't pay $500 for one tooth really kind of showed that it would be meaningful for me to do those service works. And through HKIs, I always did service in some shape or form. So for me, it was like a good chance to think that, with my talents and the money that I put into my studies, I could actually help out someone that actually needs that help. Because, toothache is one of the 3 reasons why I take Panadol and Tylenol, right? So assuming it causes a lot of pain, if I could have the chance to donate it, so why not?
Interesting fact. All right.
Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. And Alex?
Hi, Alex.
Great, Alex, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I did not graduate from HKIS. Actually, I studied at DBS in Hong Kong. I graduated in 2012. I was studying the local curriculum in the DSE. And at that time, I was thinking about whether I should study med school in Hong Kong. But after I was interning in some labs and hospitals, I found out actually my genuine interest lies in biological research. So that's why I thought about moving abroad to study abroad for a degree in science, particularly in biochemistry. So I actually took, in addition to my non-curriculum school, I self-studied 4 A-level subjects using my own time. Actually, that helped me to actually landed in University College London in the UK. And I was doing a degree in biochemistry, and after that I was quite determined to go into the research career. And for that, to prepare myself further, I studied a master's degree, and I changed my location as well. I just graduated from my master's that was in the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich. And actually this September I will move back to the UK at Oxford to begin my 5-year PhD. But that will be shared between Oxford and also a research institute in California. So I'll be studying both UK and US in the next 5 years.
Congratulations, you must be quite excited to go to Oxford for a PhD, especially after what Jonathan says. You have such a broad exposure to brilliant minds.
Yeah, certainly, because after studying science for so many years, it's now really time for me to create new knowledge. So that's
Like
the
the money way
best
about
one.
this. Great. Can you tell us a little bit about how it's like to study A-levels by yourself?
Well, definitely this is not an experience that maybe any of you will experience, but studying A-levels by myself is, especially I did not do it in the last year of my high school, so I did it actually 2 years ahead of the others. And I actually condensed my study time into half a year to study 4 subjects, which is supposed to be spread over 2 years. So that really requires a lot of self-motivation. And of course, what you lack is someone who guides you, who tells you what the curriculum is all about, or how the examination form is like. But of course, there are ways that one can find out the information with the advent of the internet. So, of course, you have to invest a lot of time in sort of like strategize yourself and what is something that one should put more time in. And you have to go over the whole syllabus by yourself. And of course, I was new to the A-level at that time, so I have to familiarize myself with like unfamiliar stuff. But I think these kind of skills that I developed during my time self-studying has a broader impact towards my life, even like up to this day, because doing science research is all about encountering unfamiliar stuff and try to familiarize yourself with like unfamiliar situations. So, I mean, my tutoring experience involved a lot of other syllabus as well, but of course I did not take the AP, I did not take the IB, but how I familiarize stuff like that or syllabi like that is, well, there are always ways you can put together information. And I think what I stress on, like, I want students to learn about is how you can use that information that is already available out there and try to put together to make a story that flows to you. Maybe the chemistry curriculum is designed like that, but that would be another way to put together, to outline a chemistry curriculum, which may help you to understand the curriculum better, or to make a coherent story. So I think like these kind of self-motivated experience means a lot to me, because I can train myself to explain stuff better in my own way to the others, which ultimately also I achieve a very good grade, I'll say.
Good job. Lastly, in your undergrad career, did you run into anyone from HKIS?
Certainly I did, certainly I did.
And your thoughts, please? I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
But definitely coming from the local school, I really did not speak much of English before I moved to London. And obviously I see people graduating from international, they are very outspoken, they're very social in a way. So honestly, I learned a lot how to interact with people without being too shy, like from interacting with a lot of high school people. I mean, not limited to HIS.
Well, thank you for not going overboard. Okay, great. Last but not least, we have Clarabelle. Hi Clarabelle, thank you for coming today. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Hi everyone, so my name is Clarabelle. Similar to Alex, I did not go to HKIS, as you might be able to tell. I went to boarding school in the UK for 4 years, and I graduated in 2014. I then went on to study at Durham University in the UK for a year, majoring in history. And I transferred back to Hong Kong last year to study medicine at the Chinese University of Hong Kong.
Congratulations, it must be pretty tough when you major compared to history.
It's a pretty big leap, like Jeremy, it's a pretty big change, but I planned into going to postgraduate medicine anyway, so it just kind of sped things up a little bit. Yeah.
Great. So what curriculum did you study?
So I studied the IGCSEs for 2 years, and then I went on to study the IB in England.
Okay, and you also went to boarding school.
Yes.
So when you went to Durham, I mean, one, how did IBs prepare you for that? And two, what was the difference between you and the day school kids?
Yeah, so in the UK, the conventional curriculum is A-levels, which Alex took. So I was in sort of the minority in university. So in A-levels, you take 4 or 3 subjects, but in IB, you take 6, and you take 1 language, 1 science, 1 humanities, 1 sort of art or music type subject, and then you can do a double in one of these categories. So also on top of that, you have to do compulsory community service for 40 to 60 hours, and also you have to write a 4,000-word essay on one of your subjects that you take. So personally, I took history, since that was what I was interested in. So I think the major difference between A-levels and IB is the 4,000-word essay that I did. So going into university in the UK, as mentioned by Bren, who went to Oxford, is that it's a very essay-driven kind of environment. So they expect you to write an essay every week, and that's all based on readings that you do by yourself. So there's a lot of referencing and extracting ideas and paragraphing and all of that. That you don't necessarily learn from IB, and I presume from AP, apart from this course that Helena took. And so in IB, the 4,000-word essay is a very good way, sort of like an introduction onto how to write a research paper, and that whole process is guided by a teacher. So that particularly I found very helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. For those of you who are planning to go to study in the UK, do consider AP Capstone, because it could prepare you for the shortfalls that maybe the AP and IB don't set you for. But anyways, sorry to digress. Yeah, so why did you switch from history to a pre-med major?
Yeah, so in IB you take sort of 6 subjects, and within that I took high level history, biology, and chemistry. So that kind of set me up for both medicine and history. So within history I was very, very interested in American history and kind of political history. And I wanted to explore my interest before diving into a career in medicine, since you go through med school for 6 years and you're pretty much set in that field. However, in the UK, you're not really allowed to change majors. So you either reapply to the same university or another university and start all over again. So for me, I was a bit stuck. I wasn't particularly interested in the history program they had in Durham, even though it was quite a renowned program. So I actually had an offer to go study human sciences in UCL, which is in London, and also a med school offer to come back to Hong Kong. And I suppose I just decided that I'm not getting any younger, so I'll just start med school and get it done.
Oh, nothing like a 32-year-old coming out doing his own startup with his mother. No offense, Mom. But anyways, you didn't answer, you actually, so how did you compare to the day school kids?
Oh yeah, sorry. So the thing, I went to boarding school for 4 years, so the most valuable experience I got from that is definitely the more pastoral side of things. Diving into university in the UK, you live in a dorm, but there's no catering, so you have to cook by yourself, do your own laundry, go shopping, pretty much everything you can think of. And in Hong Kong, you grow up in a pretty pampered environment, if I may say so. And so I think compared to other students, I was able to dive into the academic side of university a bit faster. So with a lot of the readings or essays, I was able to get my reading done faster and perhaps be a little on top of it compared to others. So when you show up to tutorials, so in other universities you don't have one-on-one tutorials as per to Oxford. You have a group of around 10 students with 1 teacher. So if you don't go prepared to a tutorial, you are not going to learn anything, and therefore your essay marks will suffer. So I think definitely I was able to, adapt to university a lot faster, and therefore my grades were pretty steady throughout first year.
So someone coming from day school, how do you tell them prepare so that when we come out of day school, we're just as competitive as boarding school kids?
Well, I think to start off with, homesickness is a pretty big thing. I don't think a lot of people acknowledge that going into university. it is quite helpful to have your parents there for the first, to help you settle in for the first couple of weeks. I personally did not have my parents there when I went to boarding school, and I found that quite hard. And I suppose just maybe ask your parents how to do laundry. That's one of the biggest difficulties that people come across. And learn how to cook a little bit. It's not that hard once you get into it, but try and come up with a schedule so that you set aside a time every day where you go to the library, where you sit down and just study, and not worry about anything else. And yeah, don't procrastinate too much. The day goes by pretty quickly.
No, she's quite serious. One of our partners, Michael, didn't know how to open a bank account, so he got so frustrated that he decided to become an accountant. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Can I ask the last group of panelists to come up? Can we get Tiffany, Joyce, Yash, Palma, and Brenda? If you have any questions, I guess you guys can ask them afterwards. Sorry. Great. Thank you very much for coming today. Really appreciate your time. So Yash, can you give us a brief introduction?
Hi, I'm Yash. I graduated from HKS about 46 hours ago. I'll be going to Harvard University next year, probably concentrating in applied mathematics with economics. And outside of that, I really enjoy debating and economics. Those are probably my two main passions.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about the APs that you took?
Sure, so I took a total of 14 exams over my high school career. I won't go over them. I won't worry about that. But they were kind of the typical math, science, humanities APs that many people have mentioned already.
Did you self-study for any of the exams?
I did not. So I took a number of AP. So I took 4 AP courses in senior year and a number of junior and sophomore years as well. And I think, I wasn't too interested in self-studying for an AP. I think that would have been a bit too much work.
Definitely. So did any of these APs help you identify your coming major?
So I knew that I was interested in economics for a very long time. So really, although the APs had a very strong influence on thinking about how I might structure my courses in college, particularly my minor courses, I think taking world history this year, for example, and government led me to consider taking perhaps a minor in the history of politics or something along those lines in college. But definitely, I was quite sure that I would major in econ or math or a combination of those two. I'm quite sure of that from I think 9th grade on.
You're pretty lucky that you can identify your passion so early. I didn't know what I was doing in university even by junior year. So can you tell us a little bit how you identified this passion?
Sure. So I'm not sure exactly how I got so interested in econ, but I know that I started reading the newspaper around the same time that the financial crisis happened. So I guess just all the news I was reading was about economics and finance, and that really got me interested, I guess, in trying to figure out how these problems that were plaguing the world's economy could be solved. So I think that's where the interest kind of started. I guess living in Hong Kong, it's hard not to be interested in economics.
So what's a credit default swap? Okay, next question is, so you talk a little bit about your extracurricular activities, MUN.
Sure. So I think my two main extracurricular activities, aside from running, would be debate and modeling animations. So for debate, I'm on the Hong Kong debate team, and we'll be most of my summer actually will be debate. So from July until 2 days before I go to college, I'll be going first to the Asian Championships and then the World Championships for the Hong Kong team. So I think that's something it's been an integral part of my high school career and something I've really enjoyed. I think I like talking a lot, but also I think that the key part of debating at MUN is the ability to listen even more than you talk. I think it helped me develop that skill. I think when I first started out with debating, I thought it was all about like just like shouting louder than your opponent and getting your point across and intimidating them. But I think over time, I realized that it's really more about listening very carefully to your opponent and understanding what they're saying better than they understand it. Because it's only when you do that that you can really oppose their case in an effective way.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. Yeah, I took speech and debate at Cambridge. I didn't go to Cambridge, but I did a summer school there. So I didn't speak much back then. I was pretty quiet. So what does it take to get into speech and debate? I mean, like, into something like that.
So I think it is important to enjoy talking. It's very hard to do debate in MUN if you don't want to talk. But I think if you have just an interest in learning more about a variety of things, I think lots of people think of debate as just being about politics or one of those kinds of things. But debate can be about all sorts of things. We had a recent debate about whether sports teams should be owned by their fans, so debate really spans everything. So as long as you're interested in learning about something new or interested in exploring a new area, I think debate and MUN would be fantastic activities to just kind of look at new interests and look at new avenues for learning.
All right, 2 more questions. I think one is, do you do anything during your summers? And also tell us a little bit about the application process.
Sure. So for summers, I think every summer I tried to do something different, and I tried to do something that was more self-directed than perhaps going to a summer camp. So I did consider once going to summer camp, and then I figured like for that amount of money, like it wasn't worth it. So instead, last year I interned at the Chinese University of Hong Kong in the Department of Economics under a professor there, and we worked on econometrics. So it was a 2-month internship at that department. Thankfully, I didn't have to go there every day, or I wouldn't have had a summer. But that was a very interesting experience. And the summers before that, there were a couple of short internships, but it was mainly about, I made this like service database at school that kind of tried to link people to service organizations that would suit their interests and their kind of strengths. And I guess the summers after my freshman and sophomore year were dedicated to kind of building that website and that database.
Great.
Oh, sorry, I didn't talk about the application process.
For those who want to get into Harvard, how did you do it?
Well, I think a lot of it, I think there's more luck in the process than I think a lot of people give credit to. But I think really it was a lot about just planning ahead of time. I started like thinking about my essays over summer, and to an extent before that as well. And I think really the difficult thing for me, at least, was trying to distill all these like experiences and things I did over high school into 600 words. It's very, very difficult to do. And I spent most of my summer, I didn't actually write over summer at all. I just spent most of my summer trying to figure out how I could present the best possible kind of cohesive image of myself that I could. I think I tried to think less about like beating the other applicants and more about just being the best possible applicant that I could, right? Like presenting the best possible image of myself that I could. And I think it took a very long time to try and figure out like what aspects of my personality and of my experiences I wanted to highlight, what parts I wanted to maybe leave out. And I think that part was very difficult for me. I think that the key part really is trying to create an essay and create an application that really highlights the parts of you that you think that you're most proud of and that you think represent you best. And I think also it's about like including some of the weaknesses in there too. I think lots of people just think like you just like brag about yourself throughout your entire application. Like I had one of my essays like was just really about like the things that I struggled with in high school. I think that was something that I thought was viable to share with the college.
So you didn't really answer the question. What did you write about?
Alright, so there are 2 essays for Harvard. One was the common application essay, and then one was the supplemental essay, which was, they're very generous supplemental essay. There's no word limit, there's no topic, there's nothing. You just like submit a file. You can even submit like a picture. So like, you can do anything. So for my common application essay, I think 2 things that have been really important to me throughout my life have been, well not throughout my life, but definitely throughout my high school career, was kind of my cultural background and my interest in economics. So I tried to find a way to combine those two things, which took me a long time to do. But eventually what I came up with was every day I really like eating buttered chapatis. It's like buttery unleavened bread. So I really wanted to include that in my essay. I don't know why, but like I got hung up on this. I was like, I need to find a way to include buttered chapatis in my essay. So eventually what I did was I used buttered chapatis as like a metaphor for my interest. It was like an extended metaphor that ran through my essay, and it kind of like tied back to my interest in economics and my cultural values. There were some really bad puns, and it was a strange essay, but I guess they didn't hate it too much. And my supplemental essay was about kind of my struggle with kind of time management and also with being obsessive about things. And like I think in 9th and 10th grade, one thing I really struggled with was that it would really bother me if I couldn't get something right the first time, and if I couldn't get something as perfect as I wanted it to be. And that was something I really tackled a lot, especially towards 10th and 11th grade. And I think that essay was really about trying to overcome that need to be, that need to like pursue perfection, like trying not to do that, and trying to be, trying to do things that really gave me fulfillment and meaning instead of just doing things for the sake of doing them. So those are my two essays.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much for your experience sharing. Hyunjong.
Hi.
Hi Hyunjong. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Hyun Jong, and I'm currently a rising sophomore at Cornell University. I'm studying chemical engineering, and I graduated from HKIS 2016.
So this year, is there a lot of students going from HS to Cornell this year?
I believe so. I know about 3, Micah and Ethan, and I believe there's another one. So I'm pretty excited to see them. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Can you tell us about the AP process?
Okay, so I took 11 APs, and I'm not going to list them all, but I think what's important for the AP process is that you tailor them to what you want to do in college. So I knew that I wanted to be in the STEM field, and I realized that I wanted to do chemistry in about junior year or senior year, and I decided to take I think all of the sciences except for AP Bio and all the maths that are given. So I think so. Number is a thing, but it's also about like how you tailor them, how you choose your APs, and how you make the story of your own. Like, you want to tell the colleges you want to do what you want to do. So I think that's a good way to do it.
That's a very useful tip. So you went for all the sciences because you knew that you wanted to do something in science, and
Right.
you narrowed it down from there.
Right.
It was definitely not biology.
Yeah. I can't do that.
No, that's fair. So what's it like to study at Cornell?
Cornell is pretty unique in that it's, alright, first of all, it's in the middle of nowhere, and that might not sound like a good thing to you, but it's also got a huge student body, so what happens when you put a lot of students into like an isolated area? They mingle, right? So most of the time we get together, we have extracurricular activities. You can pretty much find anything, like whatever your interest is, I'm sure there's a club for it. And I think it's a unique thing about Cornell. Students are very involved in extracurricular activities. I'm in like sound engineering. I didn't know that existed until I went into Cornell. So yeah, I think that's cool about Cornell.
Can you tell us a little bit about the environment?
Oh, so it goes down to about negative 25 degrees Celsius in the coldest time. If you don't like the cold, I suggest you stay away from Cornell. Otherwise, it's a great school. The environment it's on a hill. It's very nice. Large school. You need about an hour to walk through the whole campus. But yeah, it's nothing like you see in Hong Kong. It's a very nature-filled campus.
Did you find it hard to adapt?
I mean, aside from the cold, I thought it was fine. Yeah.
And my understanding is you actually really like the campus.
Yeah, especially in the summer, it's beautiful.
Great. So, you're going to do chemical engineering. What type of future roles can you do with that major?
So some people say chemical engineering is like, the industry is pretty full, but I think pretty much nowadays anything has to do with chemistry, because chemistry really is the basis to all new technology, I think. But most importantly, I think the energy sector and pharmaceuticals Energy is pretty much, we all know that it's a problem we have to confront. So I'm sure there will be demand for it, and that's why I think energy will be the most suitable for me. I see it's a growing market, and I see interest in it. Pharmaceuticals also seem interesting, but I would have to take a little more bio for that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm only a rising sophomore, right? So
No, but that's pretty, you have, at least from a personal standpoint, I think you have a pretty good telltale of the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kwang Mao?
Hi.
Hi, Kwang Mao. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure. So I graduated HKS 2016, and now I'm going to King's College London and studying biomedical engineering here.
Great. APs?
I did about 9 APs, all of which are math and science, so I didn't do a single humanities AP, which means I didn't have to write a single essay in high school, which was great, I mean.
But did you only apply to the UK?
So my situation was quite interesting. I applied to the UK, the US, as well as Hong Kong, so all over the world. I have to admit, I did get quite burnt out writing all of those essays for so many different places, but for me, I always, my idea was to either go to the UK or Hong Kong, and given the opportunity that I could apply to the US as well, I definitely took it, and my counselors helped me a lot. So if any of you guys are in similar situations, I definitely say take advantage of every opportunity you get.
And how's the application process different?
So the US, I'm sure everyone is quite familiar of, but in the UK and Hong Kong, they're quite similar, where you just write one big essay, and that essay is basically about why they should accept you and all your achievements, and yeah, just that.
Fair. And how, I mean, what's it like to study in King's College?
So King's College London is right at the center of London, which is amazing. It's basically like if HKIS had multiple campuses in Central, Causeway Bay, North Point, and Taikoo. And so it's just amazing. You're in the city, like center of London, and you have a campus, but you also really experience the city. And London is like the hub of low-budget airlines. So while I was there, I got to travel all over Europe. So when you study in London, you're basically also getting the experience of the entire Europe.
So you got to practice your Espanol.
Yeah, I got to practice my Espanol, which I took 6 years in high school.
So, is there any worries? I mean, on a more serious note, is there any worries from your parents or yourself from the recent attacks, unfortunate attacks?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think parents will definitely be worried if your child goes off to another country to study abroad. And especially with the recent attacks, of course it's very unfortunate, and they're definitely worried about it. But I think you can treat the recent attacks as like a car accident, more or less. You can never really expect when or where it's going to happen. For all I care, it could happen in Hong Kong as well. So the way I see it, and I think the way a lot of people in my school see it, is that we just have to be cautious. You know, don't go out too late at night. Don't go to really, really populated areas. Just be cautious, be careful, and do everything. I mean, you're on your own now, so treat your life like be an adult about everything.
Are you worried?
Well, personally, not really. I'm gonna try to make the most out of my experience in college, and once again, I'll keep an eye out for everything, but I don't want to let those attacks really hinder my experience in college.
That's good. So, can you tell us a little bit about your AP Physics workshop this summer?
Yeah, so I'll be leading the AP Physics summer workshop, and it's split into, well, I'm tutoring for AP Physics 1 and Physics C, as well as this summer assignment course. And I think what makes this, or my workshop especially special is, or really special, is, sorry, I don't know, yeah, is that I was in Dr. Deal's class I think you guys are all familiar with him. He was a great physics teacher. He was the AP Physics 1 and AP Physics C teacher of high school, of HKIS. And so I have all his materials and I know exactly what you need to do well. So hopefully I could be able to, offer some of my knowledge to you guys.
Thank you very much. Joyce.
Hello, I'm Joyce.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah? Okay. Right, so I am studying at the University of Hong Kong now doing a Juris Doctor degree, that is a postgraduate law degree, and prior to that I went to London School of Economics doing a politics undergraduate degree, and well, we would have been neighbours if I was younger, but unfortunately I'm not, well, LSE is also basically next to King's College in Strand, in Aldridge, if anyone knows, and it's also in the centre of city, and I argue that it's probably, a more vibrant school than King's, but that's my personal opinion. Prior to that, I did not go to HKIS. I went to another international school in Hong Kong, Charlton College. I did IB in Charlton College, and I think IB is a great program in preparing for universities for all of us.
Great. I know from time to time you work with students, although it's not part of our offering, but sometimes we work with students to help with their university admissions. I think, what are the pointers that you would give to students and parents?
Yeah, so actually, although I did not personally study in HKIS, I actually tutored quite a few HKIS kids before. I think one of the things I always emphasize to students is that I think, kids and also parents from Hong Kong are often kind of choosing universities according to the league tables, according to the rankings a lot. So for example, if two schools are quite similar, for example in the UK, people would usually kind of, base their choices according to the rankings, which I don't think it's the entirety of your selection process. I think there are two things that I would often emphasize with students in choosing universities. That one is that the location actually matters a lot, because you're spending the very precious 3 years in your university time and also in your life as well. It's probably one of the most important periods of your time in your life. And actually, I made my decision to go to London very early on. I did not want to go to anywhere else in the UK. I basically applied pretty much apart from Cambridge. I did all my choices in the UCAS choices in London. So personally, because my dad was based in London, and is based in London back in the days. And also that I knew very well that I wanted to live in the city. I didn't want to go to Scotland or north of England, any of that. So I think it's really important to actually know what kind of person you are, really. Like, I know some of my friends, for example, one of my friends studied in St Andrews, if anyone of you guys knows. It's up in Scotland somewhere, it's near Edinburgh. He loved it, he absolutely enjoyed it because of the nature, he could hike and he could go to the lake. It's really, pretty in the summer and also very cold in the winter, of course. But then, I don't enjoy any of the nature stuff. So I kind of, I want to go to, I like city life. I want to go to, a good restaurant or have picnics at Hyde Park, So it's really important to know, especially what you'd like to do during your time, especially term time as well. And I think this advice applies to both UK and the US. For example, if you want to, enjoy the city life, go to NYU or go to, you want the sun, then obviously you don't go to, you would probably want to go to California. So I think that is something that parents and kids often miss. And second of all is that what kind of streams in the subjects that you actually want to do. So for example, I did politics myself. And I knew very well that I wanted to do political philosophy and also a bit of real world things, for example, comparative politics, do a bit of international politics as well. LSE was a perfect place to do that because they actually offer a lot of real world politics. You would actually be surprised how the curricula can be really diverse, even just within the UK. For example, one of my friends studied in Cambridge. It's amazing that you got into Cambridge, of course, but she was more interested in the real world politics side, where actually Cambridge, most of the undergraduate curriculum actually offers a lot of theoretical side of things. For example, political theories, political philosophy, and a lot of ancient political theories as well. So, Kant, Hobbes, whatever, and even prior to that. So she actually didn't really enjoy her politics course as much. So actually, in the end, she switched to anthropology, I think. So it's important to research very thoroughly beforehand what actually you want to do within politics, because each subject can be a very wide area, and you want to specialize in kind of subgroups of that subject. So even within the UK, each school probably specializes in different things, and different good professors also teach different things better than the others. So I think that's something that probably, well, even I myself didn't really think about before applying to university. So that's something that you probably would want to pay more attention to.
Thank you for your advice. Last question.
Oh, okay.
When
Sorry.
you tutor the HKS kids, what's your thoughts on HKS students?
I think...
Majority of people are from HKS.
Of course, I know that. I think actually, on a more serious note, I think HRIS kids are generally very presentable and also very outgoing, most of the kids I've worked with. And also I think because of the AP programs, I'm quite jealous of them being able to choose whatever they want to do, because even in the IB program, or some of my friends doing A-levels, UK levels, you're kind of stuck with 4 or 6 subjects that you really need to dive into. And also, for example, the IB is really structured, so you need to do a bit of everything. You need to do the language, you need to do the humanities, and even I hated science back then. I didn't want to do any of the sciences. I still needed to. So, for APs, you can basically kind of tailor your choices according to what you want to do in universities, which I think is pretty good and also makes you more prepared for university. And also I think some of the times makes the kids a bit more all-rounded as well, because you're able to do many more subjects than IB and A-levels kids.
Thank you very much, Joyce, and thank you for keeping it PC. How about the HKS comment?
Last one, Tip. Thanks for coming. Can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Sure. I went to HKIS and graduated in 2011, and then I went to Columbia, studied biomedical engineering and then biology, and graduated in 2015, and now I'm at Chinese University studying medicine.
Great. What APs did you take?
I did mostly the maths and science APs, as well as AP Chinese.
Okay.
So no AP humanities, none of that yet.
And from my understanding is that you applied to Columbia for early decision. Can you tell us the choice behind that, and is there any benefits to that?
Sure. So with early decision, I think a large part is kind of like whether you're a good fit to the school and whether or not the school is a good fit to you. I think these are the main 2 questions that you would want to ask yourself, no matter if you're applying for ED or whether you're applying for regular decision. So I would say talk to as many people as you can, try to go visit the college and see what it's like. So I can kind of highlight a few points about why I like Columbia and kind of the reasons why I decided to apply for Columbia. First of all, I think it's the core curriculum. The core curriculum really challenged me as a student. I'm very strong in maths and sciences, and my humanities subjects were just kind of ordinary. So I really had to push myself to take classes like literature, philosophy, arts and music, and so that was a bit of a challenge, but I thought that really kind of widened my thinking, as well as made me a better and more critical thinker in these fields. I guess the second reason why I really liked Columbia was also for this class called Gateway. So essentially Gateway is a class that applies engineering skills into solving real-world problems. And I thought that was a very meaningful kind of class that I would be able to take as a freshman, and not a lot of other schools would offer that. So we would be building sort of Wi-Fi routers and kind of using that as a way to bring it to the community. We would try to make kind of blood pressure device that would be able to help people easily take their blood pressure even if they had no adequate equipment. So that class, as well as the core, really highlighted my Columbia experience.
So you were doing research for Columbia, and then how'd you do the research to find out that that was the right fit school? And when you got there, was it actually the way it sounded like on paper?
So I did my initial research, and Columbia was within my top range, but it wasn't kind of the school of my choice until I visited the summer before application. And I had a really good, college tour. The guy that was leading the tour was super passionate about Columbia, and as well as all the activities and classes that Columbia had to offer. And I think kind of answering our questions and being super passionate about it was what pushed it up the list for me towards ED.
Are you still friends with that person?
No, actually we didn't keep in touch, but he did kind of really kind of push me towards that decision.
So, what is it like to study in the Big Apple?
So at Columbia we have a kind of running comment. It's like Columbia is your classroom, but New York City is your bigger classroom. And to some extent that is very true. A lot of our classes at Columbia do kind of take advantage of the city. We have art humanities, we have music humanities, so these, we don't learn just within the classroom. We try to go to the museums to really kind of study a sculpture or look at a painting in more details. We have music humanities, and we don't just kind of listen to these pieces in the classroom, but we go to Lincoln Center, we listen to an opera or watch an opera, and I think it's very kind of real. It grounds you in some sense. You're not just learning about things in the classroom, but you're out there and you're actually exploring. I guess the second thing that is really attractive about New York City is that you do get a lot of world leaders that do come, and Columbia invites all of these world leaders, prime ministers, very eloquent speakers, and Malcolm Gladwell, business leaders, and you get to attend any of these talks as long as you sign up for it ahead of time. And I think I have definitely taken a lot of advantage of that and have really met a lot of amazing people that way. And last of all, it's New York City. It's a great place to be in. As a student, you get a lot of student discounts. You get to go to Broadway shows for a pretty good discount. Food is great, and what's not to love, right? You were also in New York.
Yeah, so I went to NYU, and I can really second that in the sense that the city is your bigger classroom. I was able to do an internship with Merrill Lynch when I was working there. Oh man, it was a real slap to the face. I was so unprofessional. It was such a steep learning curve, by golly. It was a very interesting experience, and the city has a lot to offer, but at the same time, it also doesn't offer a lot in terms of a campus life, per se, like Cornell. So I think it's very important to measure out, the differences between what you like. And do you think actually going there in person is pretty important?
Yeah, definitely. And just to add on to internships, I know a lot of my classmates did try to do a lot of internships in addition to classes. So they were taking a part-time job, so going down maybe twice a week. And Columbia does kind of tailor to that in that we don't have Friday classes, and that's kind of the day where you can go out and do a part-time internship or a part-time job. So finance, fashion, those are kind of the main industries that people would try to go for a part-time job in.
Great, thank you so much. Last one is, I see you're doing the SAT prep. Can you tell us a little bit about your program?
Yeah, sure. So actually when I took the SATs, I had a private tutor, and I thought that was one of the, it helped me a lot. There would be times when I would freak out before the SAT exams, and I wouldn't know, what to do, or I did really bad practice exam and I would be really upset. And I think having a private tutor really helped to kind of calm my nerves and guide me through the process. So I believe that I would probably use the same method when I'm working with students in the future. I would want to tailor it to the student one-on-one, be able to help them, strengthen their weaknesses and just be a mentor to them. So I've had experience doing one-on-one SAT and ACT tutoring, and I think that students do end up doing better, I think, than kind of just putting them in a big classroom and drilling them with SAT tests.
Thank you very much. Well, this pretty much sums up our experience sharing. Thank you for everyone who came in, and thank you to the tutors who participated. I forgot to introduce my other colleague, Cord. So sometimes you see this other dude in the screen, that's Cord. He's usually working with the tutors and the students to optimize the experience. But thank you so much, Cord, for spending all those nightless hours to do that. And last but not least, please fill in the questionnaires. We really, really need this type of feedback to help us further improve ourselves. And lastly is the tutors will be here till 6:15. Please feel free to speak to them about their majors and what going to their university is like. Thank you again, Greg. Thank you everyone again. Have a good evening.
Big research schools that will offer you the opportunity. So my concerts helped a lot, so I think.
Are they recording us?